A county judge in Ohio temporarily blocked several state laws that created a 24-hour waiting period for getting an abortion. It was the first legal test of the state's voter-approved constitutional right to the procedure. The judge said the provisions don't advance patient health. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. And here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
It seems adults are taking over what used to be a kid's domain.
I'm selling over 1,000 lemonades over the weekend.
More 20 and 30-somethings like Elizabeth Williams, who goes by Liz Loves Lemonade on TikTok, are setting up stands to pay for college or pay off debt.
We definitely hit our goal. We had 1,133 lemonade sales.
That's a lot of lemons and sugar and ice, but some say they can make as much as $10,000 per event, depending on the size of the crowd. And it's not all profit. Serious side hustlers are investing in sturdy tents, coolers, even industrial lemon slicers. Liz is also making money off her TikTok posts, which have garnered 60,000 followers. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Here's one way to catch a thief. A California woman got sick of packages being stolen from her post office mailbox, so she sent herself an Apple AirTag. Police responded, tracked the tag, and arrested 2 suspects. Allison Keys, CBS News.
Broadcasting live from the elaborate Deluxe Studio C at KOKC in Oklahoma City, it's McRoof Talks Insurance. I'm Rick Allen Lippert here with restoration specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCollum.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello. Scotty McCollum has the day off, but in his place is McRoof Solution Specialist Kelvin Chandler.
Good afternoon.
Hello there. Running man Eric Yandel is the wizard on the other side of the glass.
Howdy do.
He will answer your calls to 405-478-1520. We're live streaming the show on the McRoof Talks Insurance YouTube channel. In fact, we're waving to you right now. You can also hear us anywhere in the U.S. of A. on iHeartRadio. Just search for KOKC. Act 1 of our show today will start as usual with our trivia question and other interesting tidbits, including the word of the week. That number again to answer the trivia question or to ask a question, 405-478-1520. In Act 2, we'll take more of your calls and hear Kelvin's view from the rooftop. This week, McRoof Solution Specialist Kelvin deepened his knowledge about the damage to asphalt shingles in an episode titled Crushed It. Coming back from breaks, we'll have some genuinely obscure historical trivia. Then in Act 3, we'll wrap up with any unfinished business, and we'll also take more of your calls. Plus, we'll have our After the Storm tip brought to you by RoofRx, and end up with Dad's Wisdom brought to you by Energy Q. Now, the lawyer sent me a private message on LinkedIn this morning to remind you that S&CM LLC doing business as McRoof.us legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 8000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Business out of the way.
All right.
Let's get to the trivia question, shall we?
Let's do it. Okay. Are asphalt shingles or any other top or visible layer of your roof considered primary or secondary waterproofing for your roof?
Okay. If you think you know the answer to that, give us a call, 405-478-1520. The winner will receive 2 free tickets to any Carpenter Square Theater production this coming season. It starts September 13th. So any are any
Is what you're looking at on your roof
there you go.
primary or secondary waterproofing?
That's all we want to know.
There you
Primary
go.
or secondary.
There you go.
All right. So
Easy peasy.
405-478-1520. Word of the week, Scott.
Word of the week. Words of the week.
Yeah.
Public adjuster. A public insurance adjuster is an independent, trained insurance professional that helps individuals with the homeowner's insurance claim process. Unlike an insurance company adjuster, a public adjuster advocates exclusively for policyholders.
Okay.
They are licensed and trained insurance professionals. They are paid by the client, not by the insurance company.
All right.
Okay?
You know, one could say public adjuster might be a chiropractor who stands on the street corner and just takes anyone who comes by.
Hey, that could be. That's pretty good.
I'll crack your back for you.
You want a public adjustment?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
That's funny. That's funny. Way to go, Rick.
A public adjuster.
Only you would come up with that.
A public adjuster works for the policyholder.
Correct.
In most cases, the homeowner or the business owner.
Yeah, when you go to look at adjusters, and we've talked about this before, we have staff adjusters who work for insurance companies. We have fee adjusters who are hired by an insurance company. They would be independent adjusters from a licensing standpoint or a regulation standpoint, but they are hired by the insurance company. And then you have public adjusters who are hired by the actual policy holder and are compensated by them. So you look at who hired the individual, who pays the individual, and you'll be able to follow the money to how all those things work their way through the system that we have in place today.
When would a policyholder want to bite the bullet and hire a public adjuster?
It would be a case where they have significant evidence that the adjustment, the claim summary that they've been given by the insurance company is woefully short.
Okay, I would assume that.
And you know, that sense of, or that feeling of not having been treated fairly. Maybe you feel like the adjuster was not thorough. Maybe you feel like the adjuster was not trained and versed in the kind of damage that he or she should have been looking at. You may feel that they have priced the damages incorrectly, insufficiently. Bottom line is, you do not believe that you have been indemnified by your insurance carrier. You might want the services of a public adjuster.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough.
All right.
All right. So, trivia question. What you see on top of a roof?
Asphalt shingles, metal panels, synthetic shingles, whatever you're looking at on top of your roof.
Is that the primary or secondary waterproofing for that roof?
Okay.
That's the trivia question. If you think you know, give us a call, 405-478-1520.
And our prize is
2 free tickets to any Carpenter Square Theater production of the season that opens September 13th.
So
8 shows.
What's the first rattle out of the box?
It's called Making Sweet Tea and Other Secrets, set in a small town in North Georgia. And it deals with some pretty heavy topics.
Oh, okay.
There is some humor in it, but it's a pretty serious play. And
this is probably PG or
Easily PG.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe R.
Yeah, maybe R.
Okay.
There's some language, and one of the characters is not happy with that language. It's two elderly sisters who live together, and so they scrap. And but there's a situation that the sheriff brings a battered teen to them for safekeeping. And we learned quickly that it was her own father who beat her up.
Oh gosh!
And it gets worse from there. So,
okay, well don't spill all the beans.
I'm not.
Anyway.
It's
and maybe that's not the uplifting light,
No.
that somebody wants to go to. Maybe they want to go to the next show. But anyway, you'll have 8 to choose from.
8 to choose from. But I will say the holiday show is called The Games Afoot, or Homes for the Holiday.
And I bet that's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's a kind of a bump and run farce. A Broadway actor known for playing Sherlock Holmes. It's set in 1936, and so he's having a holiday party at his home in Connecticut, and all of a sudden, one of his guests is stabbed.
All kinds of things go awry.
And so there are hidden passages and stuff like that.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, so young Kelvin Chandler, McRoof Solutions Specialist. What do you have to say for yourself, young man?
Well, I had an interesting week. I pretty much spent most of the week reviewing policies. I learned some interesting things this week with different roofing materials that I've never seen before. One thing I realized this week is try not to call insurance with your client. Sometimes they may change their policy when you're just asking what your coverage is. That is something I have run into this week.
Whoa. Run that by me again.
Yeah. I'll slow it down. I had a client who wanted to know what their policy was. They had the paper in front of them. They had a hard time reading it. When I took a look at it, the wording was very tricky. It leads you to believe they may have replacement cost, but later on, it has terms that say it's not replacement cost. So I had her call her insurance carrier, and as she's asking them over the phone what her coverage is, they decide to try and change her policy on the phone with her, and sent her an emailed notice of this, mail notice that they are trying to change her policy for when she renews in 2 months.
So I assume they're changing her policy from a replacement cost policy to an actual cash value
Yes.
policy.
And they found all this out while she just happened to call them for an update on what her current policy was. And trying to help her out by helping her figure out her coverage, I may have changed her coverage.
No, you didn't. Because any event that has already happened, is going to be adjusted and paid for under the terms and conditions of her previous coverage, or the coverage at the time of loss, the date of the occurrence. Okay, so nothing that gets changed now impacts anything that has already happened in the past. And what you really have done is you've created a situation where she now has 2 months notice that she is going to be renewed on an actual cash value basis, and she has the opportunity to go and shop the marketplace and see if in fact she is eligible for replacement cost coverage from another carrier. So you have actually worked to where she is informed, knows what she needs to do, and has some options now.
Yes, and it was just a very curious situation.
That is, and we're not going to name names as far as insurance companies go, but that is something to be aware of, that just in the fact that you're asking someone a question about your coverage may end up with a result like this. So,
and it seems to me that she might even be in a really good position with a new roof, or at least one on the way.
She might be.
As she
Does
starts
she need
shopping.
a new roof?
She needs a new roof.
She needs a new roof. So
now she's shopping.
So now Kelvin, in his process of trying to seek out the information, so that, because if we don't know what your coverages are, we cannot know that the advice that we're giving you is absolute. Okay. Once we know what your coverages are, we can understand and lead you down the path that's going to be most beneficial for you. What Kelvin has done is now put her in a position where she needs to get this claim filed. She needs to get her new roof from her old insurance company on her house.
Yes.
And then she's going to be shopping a 0-year, hopefully impact resistant rated roof.
Yes.
Installed by credentialed contractors, all the bells and whistles, and she's going to be in the best position possible to shop her insurance.
And it might be that her current insurance company will look at all of this and say, "Well, okay, now that we've spent this much money on you, let's keep getting your premium."
You would think that.
I know.
You would think that. We were talking this week about how crazy it is that there are people whose agents are having to tell them, you just need to go somewhere else for a year and come back to me a year from now, and I'll be able to do something better for you then than what I could do today. It defies all the logic about relationship, the lifetime value of a client, all that kind of thing, that you as an insurance carrier would give someone a lower price today than someone that's been paying you their premiums for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
That is wrong. That is just wrong.
Yeah. Well, well.
Anyway, there you go.
So that was.
You want to know what I think about that? That is wrong.
Any other anything else that you did this past week in the minute we have left?
One thing is I've seen a lot of landmark IR this week.
Okay.
And that may lead us to what we may talk about later, but
that's fine.
I have seen, so it is an impact-resistant roof, and it has weathered some major storms.
So it's great that Kelvin brought this up. This is our, remember, Rick, this is our prior to 2018 installs of landmark impact-resistant, the Certainteed shingle that was my workhorse from the day I first came into Oklahoma until 2018. In 2018, of course, looking at the testing and the science, I started moving everyone to Northgate. We're on these landmark IR roofs, and Kelvin can attest to this, that look like the day I installed them.
And
so
these,
that was
these are at least 10, 12, 14-year-old roofs.
Tremendously high-performing shingle. That shingle is still soft. It's still supple. It can still accept some impact. It looks like the day I put it on, literally. It's because it is a high-quality product, and that roof is properly ventilated.
And with that, we'll take our first break. We'll be back with Act 2 of McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. He's restoration specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCollum. Kelvin Chandler sitting in for young Scotty McCollum today. We're still looking for that trivia question. The layer of a roof that you look at, that top layer, is that the primary or secondary waterproofing? 405-478-1520.
Talk Radio's new generation. KOKC.
I'm Scott McCollum, and I am McRoof. Don't let that big out-of-pocket expense on your roof claim stand between you and the new roof that you want and need. I'll finance your deductible, non-recoverable depreciation, or your upgrades over 12 to 24 months. No third-party financing, no hassle, in-house financing by McRoof. Call Carly today at 855-766-3405 for details. McRoof.us, where every replacement is a replacement done right.
Homer Stacy was a wholesome, good American kid from Texas. At the age of 18, he enlisted in the United States Army and was stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas. Homer was fascinated with aircraft, so he went to flight school and became an Army Air Corps pilot. Homer Stacy was the pilot of a Convair B-24 Liberator, the Yankee Doodle Dandy. November 11, 1943, Homer and his crew, along with 31 other bombers, flew a mission to destroy a ball bearing plant in occupied France. On the return trip, a mechanical failure caused the plane to drop out of formation, leaving the Yankee Doodle Dandy vulnerable, and shortly thereafter, 7 German Me-109 shot the plane down near Andano, Italy. 4 crew members were killed on board. The others parachuted. 1 was captured and taken prisoner. Homer was among the remaining 5 who made it to Switzerland and returned to duty. Homer Stacy survived World War II, the Korean War, and retired after 21 years of service with numerous awards and citations, not to mention the Purple Heart. Homer Stacy. Homer Stacy McCollum, Scott McCollum's dad. Scott McCollum is McRoof. McRoof is owned and operated by the McCollum family, an honorable, trustworthy red, white, and blue family. If you want to improve or repair your property, call 855-766-3405. Ask for a no-cost roof assessment and home inspection. That's McRoof, 855-766-3405. That's McRoof.
Folks, it's hot as blazes out there, and you probably can tell because that AC unit is running constantly. Stick your head up in that attic and see how hot it is up there. Give Carly a call today at 877-7663, 405-877-7663. Let's get one of my solution specialists out there to do a ventilation calculation for you. Take a look at the ventilation on your home installed versus what's required. And let's look at Energy Q, our 5-layer double foil radiant blanket. We can install this on top of your roof in a roof replacement. We can drape it from the bottom of the rafters in your attic, or we can roll it out as a blanket on your attic floor. This radiant barrier is going to keep 95% of the radiant energy from ever entering your attic, and is going to make your energy bills go down and your AC work less stringently. Give Carly a call, 405-877-7668. Let's get you a cool solution for that hot attic.
This is the home of Talk Radio's new generation, KOKC.
And McRoof Talks Insurance back on the air for Act 2 of today's show. On this date in 1853, the first potato chips were prepared by Chef George Crumb at Moon's Lake House near Saratoga Springs, New York. Although there are some earlier recipes, but he's credited with inventing the potato chip. Speaking of inventions, on this date in 1891, Thomas Edison patented the motion picture camera. And I wanted to follow that with, some big famous movie that was released on this date, but nothing is released in late August. It's too late for the summer blockbusters, too soon for the holiday shows. So on this date in 2009, Lee Brice released Love Like Crazy.
They called them crazy when they started out.
It became the Billboard Song of the Year in 2010. And that's our obscure historical trivia for August 24th, 2024.
Very good.
Okay, so, it looks like we have our friend Benny on the line. Let's hear from Benny.
Good afternoon.
How you doing, young man?
Well, I've missed some of your shows, either entirely or partially due to family stuff and other stuff. But
but here you are. Are you answering the trivia question?
I'm going to swing at it and see if I connect.
Okay, you got a 50-50 chance. So let me restate the question let me restate it for the folks who might have just tuned in. Are asphalt shingles or any top or visible layer, the part that you see on a roof, is that the primary or secondary waterproofing for that roof?
Secondary.
Ding, 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 ding. Man, your average is going up again.
My batting average is improving before swing and miss.
So you can probably, having just recently had your McRoof installed, and having been a loyal listener for years and years and years, you can probably tell us what your primary underlayment is on your roof.
Well, it used to be the tar paper or felt paper. Now it is the SBS membrane.
Okay, so Benny's exactly right. So we've got two things that would be considered primary water shedding members of your roof, and that's going to be your ice and water product and your synthetic underlayment. Those are primary, and your roof covering itself is secondary. So Benny's a roofing magician. I mean, he knows his stuff. That's all I can say.
Well, I know some of it. I'm not the expert. Hey, I got a couple of bits of good news.
Good.
To share.
That's what we like to hear.
And I opted to put down the radiant barrier before on my roofing job. my electric bill from last month to this month, and I'm on the Smart Hours program, and I'll just use round numbers. It was 160 last month, and the super duper heat wave we had, my new bill was only $18 higher after the radiant barrier installation.
Okay. All right.
Because the last one was June, July, and then the current one was July, August.
Yeah, what'll really be interesting, Benny, is when you take those year over year. If you'll take next year, you'll want to take your June, July, August, September, and lay them, lay this year's June, July, August, September over those bills to where we'll get a true 4-month average with all the different conditions. Didn't matter if we had a heat spell, didn't matter if we had a cool spell. It'll all average out, and we'll be able to really see what that energy queue is doing for you. So
true enough, and actually the June, July one was lower than last year's.
Yeah.
So not a lot, but some. I don't know the exact.
Right.
But and the other is got my renewal notice on my homeowner's insurance. And I knew there would be an uptick in the premium, but I was pleasantly surprised that it was only $130.
Okay.
For 12 months. With the increase, I thought that was pretty fair. Really.
Yeah, a lot of people are calling me, telling me that their premiums have gone up by 50, 75, 100% over last year. So for you to get a fairly modest increase like that, now. We know that we provided them with the certificate for your impact-resistant roof, so that should have, that helped quite a bit. So that probably, I don't know what your insurance company's credit is for that, but say it was 20 to 30%. That would have been an increase that you would have seen had you not done that impact-resistant roof. So it all makes sense, and I'm just glad when we have clients like you that study things and understand that the things that we're telling you ultimately we believe are in your best interest. So
well, space age technology has really helped the consumer market over the decades since we got started.
Yep.
And a real quick thing, my big increase was last year's. I had a 25% increase, which since I have replacement coverage and the value of everything, the cost of everything keeps ratcheting up, I'll just round it. It was $1,000 bump last year, so I was really pleasantly surprised with only $130.
Got you. I understand. All right, Benny. Well, man, I appreciate you calling as always. Appreciate you listening, and thanks for winning the trivia question. Thanks for raising that batting average.
So, Benny, you're going to need to give Eric your mailing address so I can mail your theater tickets to you.
Yes, I don't have email. So
I know.
Yeah,
Benny's going to be regifting. He's going to be regifting.
That's quite all right.
All right, Benny. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. So,
all right, go ahead.
So, Kelvin, we started before we went to the break. We were talking about 10, 12, 15-year-old Class 4 landmark IR shingle roofs. So before we came to the show today, you and I went and looked at an old landmark IR roof.
Yes.
So tell me what that roof looked like.
Well, we use a weather tracking service to be able to identify when storms have rolled through, what meteorologists have verified.
Northeast Edmond. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Northeast Edmond.
Oh, man, they've been hammered like.
Anyway, so go ahead, Kel.
Yeah. So this house has received plenty of storms and big hailstones, and we've seen very few and far between hail impact, and the hail impact that was there was very non-noticeable. You really got to look at it. This looks like a beautiful roof. It's ventilated well, so there's not much blistering occurring on it. It's amazing what you can do with the roof when you give it the preconditions it needs to last as long as it should. It lasts a lot longer, weathers more storms better. And yeah, this roof has been weathering storms for a while, and it looks really good.
What was the largest hail that you saw at that location? I mean, it was big. It was 2.5 inches.
2.5 inches, yeah.
Wow.
So there's been some big hail there, and there's been a lot of hail there in the 10 years or so since I put that roof on. The thing that gets shortchanged in most roofing applications, and I talk about it till people are probably sick of listening to me, but ventilation, okay? If I properly ventilate the crappiest shingle in the market, okay, and use the proper underlayments and the flashings and everything, I'm going to be able to give you a pretty dang good roof that's going to last a long time.
Okay.
If I properly ventilate the best or one of the best class of shingles, definitely with the modified asphalt polymer, the best class with the best ventilation, with all of the underlayments, ice and waters, drip edge, flashings, and details. I'm telling you, folks, we have these roofs that have been through 3.5 and 4 inch hail in Norman along 35. And I'm standing on my Northgate roof that does not have a blemish anywhere on it. And I'm looking at roofs that I can see across the street. I can see the hail craters in those roofs. So I'll say this, and I'm gonna get on my soapbox a little bit. I hear adjusters and I hear people discussing back and forth the merits, the pros and cons, and asking the question, is Class 4 impact-resistant technology worth the investment? Okay? All I can tell you is that the first time that there's an event that you would have incurred a deductible and you're not having to replace your roof, you are way ahead. Forget about the discounts the insurance company's giving you. Forget about the fact you're not having to go through that process again. Okay? And the fact that McRoof believes so strongly in the technology that I have always wanted every one of my clients to have this. When you have an insurance claim and Kelvin or Scotty, Johnny, any of the folks go through that claim, and they come to the place where you have a standard grade shingle, okay? They're going to show you the upgrade or the option to add Class 4 impact resistant. Well, the number that they're going to give you is what it actually costs me when I write the check at the supply house. In other words, if you had $10,000 worth of material for your standard roof project and you have $12,000 worth of material for your impact-resistant shingle and impact-resistant hip and ridge, then we're going to tell you $2,000. We're not going to tell you $2,000 plus double it so we can put $2,000 in our pocket or anything else. We're going to tell you what that product costs us because we want you to have that product on your roof. We want you talking about how McRoof treated you, the relationship that we have. We're who you refer. We're who you tell everyone about, family, friends, and work and associates and people like that. And I'm not going to worry about the fact that I'm not going to I hope I don't get to replace your roof again. Okay.
So I have two questions related to what you just said, and then we're going to go to the view for the rooftop.
Okay.
View from the rooftop. You started off by talking about ventilation and how important it is. I see trucks loaded down, the flatbeds, semis loaded down with shingles and
turbines.
A couple of boxes of turbines on there. Can a house be properly ventilated with wind turbines?
It depends. It has to do with the design of the roof. It has to do with any number
I imagine
of things,
square footage of the...
But the design of the roof will determine whether or not you can actually use turbines effectively to ventilate that roof space.
I just see so many roofs going on, and it's like, well, we took a turbine off, so we're putting a turbine on.
Well, and I'll tell you, that's exactly what it is.
I had that one time.
It's the mentality of the industry that we're just going to do what we've always done. Okay? We know by scientific fact that turbines are a less efficient, effective way to ventilate an asphalt shingle roof than any number of other things that we have.
Okay. All right. So now let me go on to the next question.
Okay.
And that was the additional cost for an impact-resistant roof. And in the example you gave, it was
$2,000.
$2,000. that homeowner is only going to pay that $2,000 one time, right? Because
That's
the next
exactly
time,
right.
should they ever need to replace that roof because of hail
the insurance
damage,
company's going to pay you for a higher grade of shingle.
Exactly.
They're going to pay you the price at the point in time where that is actually storm damaged. They're going to pay you for that replacement shingle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an investment as opposed to an expense.
You're exactly right, and it is value versus cost.
Exactly. All right. Now we're going up on the roof. Today, Kelvin is talking about having crushed it.
Yeah, so I was on a rooftop, just a seasonal inspection, and
had 3 inspections for the same lady.
I did, and this was her second. So I was out there. It was a 3-tab. The first house I looked at was
a strip shingle.
Okay.
Yes, it was an architectural. Was the first house. So the second house and the third house were a 3-tab or strip shingle. I was looking at the second house. It's the first 3-tab I'm looking at. I look at it. I'm like, I just don't see a lot of damage on this. Taking pictures. Scott, as I'm leaving to my third house, is sending me messages telling me, Kelvin, are you sure it's not crushing that you're seeing on this 3-tab? And I was like, I don't think so. And he proceeded to describe it to me. He sent me pictures. All of a sudden on this third house, I'm seeing damage everywhere that I wasn't able to see on the second. And they are about not even a quarter mile apart. So they should have the same weather storms in the area. So on the third house, I'm able to find a bunch of damage. It's something I would recommend to file. Well, I decided to go back to that second house and
Good
take
for
a
you.
look, and all of a sudden, I'm starting to find damage that I was not seeing before. It was almost like it was an eye-opening experience, and I learned what crushing was on a 3-tab. It looks a lot different.
And it's layers. It's deepening the knowledge base that my folks have, and so when anyone's out doing an inspection, I'm reviewing the photographs and the notes and the things they're putting in, and I knew he had damage on the first roof. The second roof is pretty close proximity. Architectural versus strip shingle damage, hail damage is going to look significantly different.
Oh,
and because
okay.
an architectural shingle because a 3-tab is a thinner, flatter shingle,
right,
and it's laying flat on that roof deck, you get what we call crushing. Okay, where you actually have that impact, and instead of making a hole, it literally crushes the granulation basically down and through the asphalt.
Oh my!
Okay, and so it's something totally different. It's not that classic picture you see of golf ball size hail hitting an asphalt shingle, and you see this big black hole, and you see that's not what it looks like. So we can come back. We can finish this up.
All right.
We'll talk about it some more.
We'll take our second break. We'll be back for Act 3 of McRoof Talks Insurance. You're listening to McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. He's restoration specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCollum, a man who knows a lot about roofs and houses. Young Kelvin Chandler, McRoof Solution Specialist, filling in for Scotty McCollum today. We'll be back in a flash with more obscure historical trivia.
Talk radio's new generation, KOKC.
I'm Scott McCollum, and I am McRoof. McRoof and CertainTeed are the team you need on your roof. CertainTeed's impact-resistant lineup is unbeatable. Northgate Climate Flex, Presidential Shake, or the slate look of Belmont IR, or the King of Shingles, Grand Manor. Call Carly today at 855-766-3405 or go to McRoof.us. McRoof.us, where every replacement is a replacement done right.
Honoring America's Warriors is an Oklahoma-based 501c3 nonprofit that is committed to honoring our heroes and healing our warriors. Honoring America's Warriors provides teams of disabled combat veterans in service dress uniform to augment military honors for our brave that have served our country. Honoring America's Warriors also provides outdoor activities to get our returning veterans peer-to-peer with other veterans in a non-medical environment. To learn more or to donate, go to honoringamericaswarriors.org today.
Folks, RoofRx is my inspect, repair, and maintain concept. You need to give Carly a call today at 405-877-7663 to set up your inspection. If you're within the sound of my voice, you need to have your roof looked at. If you haven't had a qualified roof inspector, let us get one of our credentialed inspectors out on your roof so that you'll have a baseline. You'll understand exactly what the conditions on your roof are. You'll know if you need to do any minor repairs, or you'll know if you need to actually file a claim and seek to have your roof replaced by your insurance company. RoofRx. Call Carly today at 405-877-7663 and set up your inspection.
This is the home of talk radio's new generation, KOKC.
Talks Insurance back on the air for Act 3 of today's show. Now, these days, we think nothing about flying across the country nonstop. You get in the plane on one coast, get off the plane at the other coast. That wasn't always the case. On this date in 1932, the first transcontinental nonstop flight by a woman began in Los Angeles, and that woman was Amelia Earhart. Now, fast forward 24 years, and the first nonstop transcontinental helicopter flight arrived in Washington, D.C. on this date in 1956. Can you imagine flying in a helicopter nonstop across the country? I can't.
Well, I'm trying to figure this out. How is Washington, D.C. a transcontinental destination?
Well, it's on the East Coast. It's right next to the coast. It's close enough.
Okay.
Close enough.
Okay.
Of course, look who's running D.C., too. There you go. Big money, influence, lobbyists.
And then on this date in 1981, I wish I had a good thing to say about this, but my high school buddy, Mark David Chapman, was sentenced to 20 years to life for the murder of John Lennon. Happened in 1980, December 8th of 1980. I knew him. He was a disturbed young man. I'll just leave it at that.
That's a downer.
Yeah, it is. So let's get back to something.
Well, let's finish up Crushed It.
Okay.
Let's finish up Crushed It.
All right.
So Kelvin's on this third roof, and he's not really having any trouble finding that damage on that third roof. He's putting his photos in and everything else, and then he goes back to the second roof. Kelvin, what was different about the second and the third roof?
Absolutely nothing. Color. Okay. That would make sense.
Two different colors. Okay.
I will say the second one I was on was a weathered wood type color, or a little gray and tan, or some brown mixed in. So what I was looking at was, when I'm looking at the shingle, it looked like a blister, or where the granules have essentially shed off of the tab, and it looked like a blister to me. But inside of that was some gray or chalkiness that was the hail hit, the crushing that I was not viewing before.
And you saw that on the weathered wood on the third house.
The second one, when I went back, I went and saw that on the weathered wood color.
Oh, okay.
It's harder to view on that one. The
Yes.
third home that Scott had taught me crushing, and all of a sudden I could see it perfectly now. That one was a heather blend, which is like a reddish brown.
Yeah.
Okay.
So color, distorts kind of in a way.
Sure.
Or masks.
Yeah.
And this is why people say, we talk about credentials, we talk about training, we talk about this, that, and the other. What does it really mean, and what's the real value to our clients? The real value to our clients is there are people with extensive credentials who've been on thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of roofs, who are, if not with the other folks, we are reviewing every single thing that they do, deepening their knowledge of exactly what it is and understanding all the ways that hail damage plays out. Hail damage looks different on an impact-resistant shingle than it looks on a standard asphalt shingle. Okay.
Didn't know
Hail
that.
damage looks different on a 3-tab than it does on an architectural shingle. There's just so many things about this and so many layers to it. And these credentials are the HAAG credentials that we talk about, the credentials that Scotty and I possess, the credentials that other members of the team will have. The reason the other members of the team don't already have them, Kelvin, why?
Because I need over 1,000 inspections.
Because to sit for the class and to take the exam, someone has to certify that you have been the primary inspector on over 1,000 roofs.
Oh my goodness!
Okay? This isn't something that you just write a check and they hand it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get
this
that.
is and they have an affidavit that is completed by someone who attests that you have been the primary inspector on this many roofs before you can sign up for their class. Okay. So anyway,
speaking of credentials, in the note
he crushed it.
you in the notes you sent me, you listed all of Kelvin's credentials.
He's got a couple I don't even know what are.
So, what is your story, young man?
Well,
I love
my story. Well, where to begin? Before my time roofing, or
no? Who cares about that?
That's what I figured. I was
what brought you here? Let's do that. What brought you here? That's what I like to hear.
Well, I really wanted to get into a job where I could help people. My dad happens to partner with us and puts puts gutter up for people. He's our gutter salesman. And he directed me to Scott. He told me, hey, if you want to be a salesman and you don't want to feel crushed at the end of the day that your soul is being drained from having to take advantage of people, go work for this guy. He's going to really help people. He's going to really make you feel good when you go home. When you sell a job, you won't feel happy knowing you just got a commission. You'll feel happy knowing you just helped somebody out. That's how you're going to feel when you go home.
Wow. So how long have you been with McRoof, and what credentials do you hold?
I have been here since May, and the credentials I hold, I am a shingle quality specialist. That essentially says that I know the quality of a shingle, the functionality, and I can assess damage in a shingle. I am also a master craftsman roofing contractor, which essentially says the product we use with certainty. I know the details and the items the process of warranting an item when we install the product. I am a master craftsman in modified bitumen roofing and liquid applied roofing as well. That just means I know how to assess and install modified bitumen and liquid applied roofing, and a couple of the other ones are more so salesman certifications.
So there you go. So here's somebody who's been through the onboarding, has spent a great amount of time over the last few months with Scotty and with Johnny, a little bit of time with me, and you can kind of see that the credentials are extremely important to us.
Yes.
They are foundational. Okay, you need to understand the concepts. In Kelvin's case, he needed to understand the shingle technology, the quality part, how that shingle's manufactured, how it's put together, how it's intended to perform, before he could get on a roof and start seeing where the different damage scenarios, mechanical damage, manufacturing defect, storm damage. You've got to be able, so all of the credentials are foundational to us, okay? When you talk about everything that comes from the manufacturers. Then when you start getting into credentials that are licensing, whether you're talking about sitting for commercial endorsement test with the Construction Industries Board, or whether you're talking about any of your HAAG testing, or you're talking about some higher level levels of testing and things of credentialing and all that we'll do through National Association of Roofing Contractors, things like that. Those are layer upon layer upon layer, and when you're doing that at the same time that you're experiencing roof after roof after roof, situation after situation after situation, it just builds such a solid base of knowledge that you can be a solution specialist motivated to help someone and solve their issue, and not a roofing salesman.
Right. Someone who just can tell you what colors are available.
A roofing salesman doesn't need to know all these things.
Right. Right. They just need to know what color you can deliver and when.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, well, good for you,
and how
young Kelvin.
And how cheap they can deliver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's really
sharpen the pencil a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I tell you, and Kelvin and I had a conversation this morning. We were talking about kind of experienced people versus inexperienced people, and different trainings that he's been exposed to, and how he sees some of those might apply more to a person who's a newbie versus somebody who's been, well, what I explained to Kelvin, and I think he knows, we've never had great success hiring people from other companies to come into our company. Okay, there is, in our opinion, our mind, our hearts, a very significant difference in McRoof and most other companies. Okay, and particularly when you come down to the aspect of what a role of a quote-unquote salesperson is. Okay,
right.
Back to our original day one, they're not salesmen, they're solution specialists, and that carries all the way through based on our values and what it is that we're all about. And the reality of it is that we probably will always tend to have newbies who are hired because of who they are, the people that they are, the values that they have, the ethic that they have, and we'll be able to give them the roadmap forward to be an extremely successful solution specialist. I'll tell you that I get reports every day, but I get reports every week, every month. I'll tell you that we get what's called a 2-week productivity snapshot that comes out of our CRM. And I'll toot Kelvin's horn. Kelvin, in the last 2-week period, has the highest average job sold of any of the solutions team for McRoof. So for someone,
good for you.
For someone, a lot of people would take their new people and they'd give them all the smaller roofs. Okay, we don't differentiate based on price, because the way we look at it is it doesn't matter if someone has a $15,000 roof or a $150,000 roof. They basically have the same set of issues and need us to treat them like they're the most important problem that we're trying to solve today.
Right.
And as a result of that, Kelvin was given some larger, Carly doesn't even look at what the value of the job is when she assigns it to the solution specialist. She basically looks at, we have a default in there that if we went by the default, it would assign every job I have to Scotty McCollum. Okay? Well, we're not going to do that. That's not fair to Kelvin. That's not fair to Johnny. And quite honestly, Scotty McCollum can't take any more. Okay, because he's responsible for the entire team anyway. So we go through and we look at this, and we know that Johnny, we know that Kelvin, we know that Scotty, we know that I can take care of someone who has an issue or perceives that they may have one. A lot of times the happiest moments I ever have, it's like we told this customer this morning that we went and looked at that Landmark IR roof. I said, that roof looks just like the day it looked when I put it on. He says, that's what we wanted, right? The customer did.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted, right? That's happy stuff for us. So.
Ooh, that's the sound of the storm. So here's our after the storm, before the storm tip. brought to you by Roof RX.
Well, where are you? I mean, obviously we are after the spring storms. We are before the fall storms, and we are certainly before the winter storms, okay? Regardless of where you are, again, within the sound of my voice, if you're anywhere in Oklahoma, you have been subjected to either extremely high winds or very large hail at some point during the last year or two or three, okay? So if no one who is credentialed, qualified, and knows how to evaluate what's going on your roof has been on your roof in the last 1, 2, 3 years, you need to have someone out to do that inspection. That baseline inspection is our starting place for entering into a relationship with you. It's the information that we take, that we start from there in moving forward with you over any period of years that may ultimately result in McRoof replacing your roof. May not be this year, may not be next year. We had a lot of clients this year that we've been tending to. We've been inspecting and repairing and maintaining their roofs for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and now all of a sudden we need to replace their roof. So that's what inspect, repair, and maintain is all about. It's about you being introduced to the way that McRoof does business, being introduced to the value, the character of our company, of these young men and women and everybody that represents us, and understanding whether you need to do something urgently with your insurance company. I will say this, anyone that has a roof that you know is either 9 or more years old, you must have your roof inspected. That roof must be inspected. If there is no damage on that roof, have a qualified inspection by McRoof that states that has a signature of a credentialed inspector on it. You can use that to show to your insurance company when they're coming at you telling you they're going to change you to an actual cash value policy or non-renew you. And if they do that, then you can use that to show it to your new carrier that my roof's been inspected, even though it's 9 years old or going on 10 years old. There's nothing wrong with my roof. It's been inspected, repaired, maintained. Here's the document.
Good dang deal. All right, well, that pesky lawyer just texted me. I have to remind you once again that S&CM LLC, doing business as McRoof.us, legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 8000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing.
Thank you.
So in the less than a minute that we have left, we don't have time to get lost in the weeds on something about roofs. So let me just mention that today is National Maryland Day.
Maryland as in the state. Maryland or Maryland?
Maryland.
Oh, okay.
National Waffle Day, because it was patented, the waffle iron, patented on this date in 1869. And here we go, National Peach Pie Day.
Oh my gosh, I got to stop and get me some Bluebell. That sounds good.
There you go. All right, Dad's Wisdom.
All right, this is one of my favorite lines from one of my favorite movies. This is Julius talking to Gary Bertier. Attitude reflect leadership, Captain.
This has been McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC in Oklahoma City. We'll be back next week. Thank you, Kelvin Chandler. Thanks, you, Scott McCollum. Young Scotty McCollum will be back next week. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. Stay cool this week.
I was going to say, stay cool. Have a great week, everybody.
KOKC, Oklahoma City.
The Tyler Media Station, entertaining you since 1965.
95.3 FM and 1520 AM.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Allison Keys. NASA says 2 astronauts won't be coming home from the International Space Station until they can catch a ride